How's it monotheistic? Oh, well, that's the question. I can just tell you, Christianity says this is monotheistic. Judaism and Islam says no, it's not. So right away, I'm going to give you a Christian answer. But you have to realize there's two pretty significant world religions that think that's bull, And they have to acknowledge that. But Christianity would say that we do not have three gods, and we also don't have one person. Christianity says it's not that we have one God in one person or three gods in three persons. We have one God in three persons. And this is the important thing. It doesn't mean that God is like a pie and he is split into three parts so that we say, oh yeah, we got three persons. Jesus has 1/3 of the substance of God. The Father has a third, and the Holy Spirit, no, because then you really would be into polytheism, wouldn't be monotheism. But what we'd have to say is the other two persons are repetitively present in the third person. In other words, the Father and the Son are all in the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit and the Son are both in the Father. You see, the Holy Spirit and the Father are both in the Son. You can see that in all kinds of places. You can see the place where Jesus will say, like in the high priestly prayer, in John 16, he'll say, my Father will come to you after I'm gone. Then he'll say, the Holy Spirit will come to you. And then he'll say, my Father and I will come to you. No problem. I mean, in his mind. I mean, you and me, we're having problems. But, you see, monotheism would have to... It wouldn't be monotheistic if you said one God split into three persons. We don't believe that. But we really say one God existing in three persons. We don't believe also that the Father is sort of superior to the Son and the Holy Spirit. That wouldn't be monotheistic. That would be polytheistic. We say they're equal, and they're interdependent, and they're repetitively present in one another.
Why does Jesus pray to the Father?
Oh, but they're also distinct. You see, or else you wouldn't have three persons. They would not be three personalities. You see, if you said sometimes God puts on his Father hat, and then other times he goes over here and puts on his Son hat, and over here he puts on the Holy Spirit hat, that would be not really, then you wouldn't have three persons. You'd have one God in three disguises, but you wouldn't have one God in three persons. Or three modalities, but you wouldn't have one God in three persons. So the Christian doctrine of the Trinity is one God, three persons. However, now, Augustine, listen, you have to remember that there have been pretty smart people who defended the Trinity against Judaism, Islam, and so forth. Augustine makes a pretty important point to the people who say, well, you're not really monotheistic. We would admit, Christians would certainly admit, that the Trinity is not neat. It's messy. It seems much simpler to say, there's only been one God, one person, that's all. But Augustine brings up some problems. If you don't have a Trinitarian single God, he would say you don't have a perfect one. And the reason for that is you have to say, if there's one God and one person, that means he didn't have a personal relationship until he created somebody else. That means that love was not intrinsic to him. It means he must have made progress. It means he must be moving ahead, and therefore he wasn't perfect to start with. But you see, in the Trinity, you have love intrinsic in him and personal relationship intrinsic in him from the very, 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 very beginning. I'm just skimming the surface to say, if you believe in the Trinity, this is why I'm a Christian, by the way, on this one. If you believe in the Trinity, you've got some problems with saying, well, how does the three persons jive with the unity of God, the Godhead? But if you don't have the Trinity, you've got bigger ones. Bigger ones about the nature of the universe, bigger ones about his real holiness and his real aseity, which means his self-sufficiency. And so Augustine would say, yeah, you got some problems with the Trinity, you got bigger ones without. You're not really going to believe in a single, self-sufficient, all-powerful, all-sovereign God unless you believe in the Trinity.